The big focus that I have, as you point out, as a congressional watcher, is the impact that this has on what's happening in actual DC. These guys are in Mar-a-Lago. The president has eschewed most of the Senate and the House on foreign policy matters. So when I think of the Russia-Ukraine negotiations, whether it's the 28-point plan from Russia's side or this new 20-point plan from the Ukraine side, it's really about whether or not the Senate forces the president to act to bring this to an end by imposing this sanctions package that they've been wanting to pass for almost 10 straight months now, if not more than that. So the real question I have is, what is the impact that these Mar-a-Lago one-on-one, shuttle diplomacy efforts has on keeping the Senate at bay and making them refrain from holding what Senator Thune wanted to call Russia Week, where they held a host of pieces of legislation on the floor to impose massive sanctions on Russia to penalize it for its invasion of Ukraine. As long as the president is engaging with Ukraine and Russia the way that he is, he can give them the Heisman and say, please don't bring this bill up to the floor. We know he doesn't want it to pass. He doesn't want it to come to the floor for a vote, regardless of what he might say in public. He's successfully held a number of events throughout the year, even imposing sanctions on India, for example, to keep the Senate at bay. And that's really the trade-off as DC sees it. As long as the president's operating on this in Mar-a-Lago, they can't vote on it on the Senate floor.
Yeah, it's like Mar-a-Lago is sort of the first line of defense for the president on a lot of these topics. I know that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to meet with Trump today in Mar-a-Lago at 1 p.m. Eastern. Do we expect anything to come from that? What might come from that meeting?
No, I don't really think that there's another corollary there that's going to result in any kind of extension of anything other than this ceasefire, which is obviously very tentative truces. The president is very proud of these accomplishments and really wants to keep touting himself as the peacetime president. Last count, I think he's up to saving 12 wars. So I think that narrative really suits the president, particularly as you consider the fact that Congress is the least effective it has been in decades, if not history, this last congressional year. They passed one major piece of legislation, which was $3.5 trillion deficit increasing, one big, beautiful bill. So that's the one thing that they got done. I do not expect a second reconciliation bill to pass next year. So talking about foreign policy achievements, whether it's in the Ukraine or in the Gaza Strip, is what the president is going to prioritize, especially as his tariffs remain under threat by the Supreme Court.
So we do come back to business here next week here. Give us a sense of how this potential next government shutdown may play out. What do we need to focus on, Henrietta?
Yeah, you really want to focus on leadership right now and what they are saying. Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate side, is saying that he does not think that the shutdown is necessary. He believes that Democrats proved their point in the October-November shutdown, which lasted 45 days, resulted in the first lapse of employment data that we've seen going back to the 1940s. All that was really about keeping attention on two issues: healthcare, which Democrats have been winning on since 2018, and on affordability, which the president has been sort of hamstrung around. We saw his speech a week or two ago on that prospect. And so as far as Democrats are concerned, they don't need a legislative win on this. They've already got the president on his back foot. And the Republicans going into next year's election are at a deficit on all the issues that voters care about most prominently, including the economy, inflation, prices, tariffs, affordability, and healthcare. And that will win you a midterm election. So that's really the priority of the minority party. And then the group that shuts down the government is always the minority party. So in this case, you want to focus on Chuck Schumer and whether or not he thinks a shutdown is a good idea. And he's telling us that it's not. Our odds are slightly elevated for me, but still a low 25%. I don't think we're going to see a shutdown going into February.
Well, hopefully not. Soaring healthcare costs, though, we're still at the crux of all of this, right? Are we going to see any movement, do you think, for the American people?
No, there'll be a lot of wheels spinning, but I don't think we're going to see anything actually pass. Once we pass that magical marker of December 31st, that's basically it. And as I just pointed out, this is more now about the political argument. And while there are a host of Republicans in specifically the House all of whom are up for re-election next cycle, and many of whom are choosing to retire instead of run for re-election, there's not going to be a fix. We've got issues that are just so deeply rooted in, whether or not they're able to create a alternative to Obamacare, which there still isn't after 16 years, whether or not we can reach consensus on Hyde amendments, which are abortion related, which we haven't, in American history. So there's not a forward momentum, and there's certainly no goodwill to go around to try to find and path out. I think that we'll probably hear a lot of jawboning about 1 year fix, 2 years, 5 years. But it's hard to see them passing the magical December 31st date and then come back and retroactively extending them.